What is up, guys? I can't do that with a straight face. Anyway, I got something cool today. It is not a mountain bike, and it is not really mountain biking related, although I do think if you enjoy mountain biking, you probably are a fan of this. I've got a Coleman Peak1 4-person backpacking tent. I just picked this tent up off of REI, and looking through REI, there's no reviews on this thing. Every single person that has reviewed this tent has either been paid for it or has received the product in some sort of promotion. There's no just regular old reviews. So I figured I'd pick it up and make a quick video about it and tell you the pros, the cons, what I think, how easy it is to set up, all of that good stuff. Let's get this thing set up and then we can dive into it some more. All right, well, as you can see, getting the tent body up is extremely easy. There's only 3 poles that go on this thing, and as far as a large 4-person tent goes, this thing is super simple, super quick. I didn't even have to look at the instructions, and I was able to set it up first time, no problem. Now, let's get the Rainfly on, and we can dive into pros and cons of the tent, take a look around, see what we find. We got the Rainfly on, it's clipped in, but it is not guyed out. As you can probably see from the video, getting the Rainfly on by yourself can be annoying. There's one color-coded clip on there, and once you get that on, if you have your tent staked down, you can get it over fairly easily. I did not stake the tent down, so I had to struggle with it for a bit. Overall, the Rainfly is a pretty good quality. You should be able to set this thing up fairly quickly. So let's get it guyed out, and then we can take a look at the tent in detail. So the tent is all set up, the Rainfly is on there, everything is good to go. Instead of getting into all of the technical aspects of it, you can find a link below that'll take you to the REI page. You can see the materials that the tent's made out of, and basically the sizing of the vestibule and the floor and everything. So I won't get into all that because that's something you can easily find. But we will get into some of the pros and cons of the tent. Starting out with pros, this door is massive. You can fit just about anything that you want in there, and I'll show you exactly how big it is. So with a little bit of finagling, you can get this door open and closed with just one hand, which is huge. Especially if you're by yourself and you're carrying something into the tent. You don't want to have to mess with the door to open it and close it. If you're the type of person that likes to camp with an air mattress, if you're bringing your kids along, whatever, you don't have to worry about the door getting in the way. Just unzip it, throw it to the side. There's a little pocket on the inside where the door will actually shove into. Now, getting into pro number 2, it is the Rainfly on this thing. The nice thing about the Coleman Peak1 is that it does include a full fly. There's one vestibule in the front, but the fly does go all the way around, making it a true 2-wall tent. There is one tiny section in the back where the fly doesn't necessarily cover the entire portion of the tent, but the material at the bottom of the tent is the same as the fly material, so I'm not necessarily concerned about waterproofness there. That should hold up just fine. But the fly on this thing is really nice. It's really easy to set up. It's got multiple guy points, making it fairly simple to stake it down and get it nice and secure in high wind and rain conditions. And when it does get hot out, they actually include 2 vents in the sides and an additional vent in the back. It's more of like a window. I think Coleman is calling it their star gaze, star view, something or another. It's basically a window on the fly itself and on the inside wall of the tent. So you can unzip both. You can just have the mesh up and you can have the fly open in the back like that, whatever you want, but it would help in the summertime get some circulation going. So that brings me on to pro number 3. The circulation in the tent is pretty good. As I said, there are 2 vents on the sides of the tent, and then there are several guy out points on the fly itself to get that away from the tent body, allowing more circulation to come in. Most of the tent material is mesh. Now, I haven't tried this in very high heat conditions, but getting in and out of it today, it was fairly nice. It was pretty hot outside, and the tent is definitely warm, but not as warm as some of the other tents with full flies that I've been in. Pro number 4 is a big one for me, and that would be the bag that the tent comes in. Especially if you're out camping and you're kind of in a hurry to get going and you just want to throw the tent in, get it all tucked away and in the car and ready to go. This tent makes it super easy. The bag that it comes with is more of a duffel style bag, so there's plenty of room in it. Even if you're not very meticulous about packing this thing up, you should be able to get it just fine in there and ready to go. So pro number 5, this one might be up to personal preference, but I think this tent looks really good. I really like the colors on it. The orange, the black, the reflective materials on there. It looks like a really cool tent, and good job, Coleman, for building something that stands out. Let's get inside this thing and check it out. All right, so the inside of the tent is very spacious. There is a lot of room in this thing, and if you look at the size in the link that I put down there, you can tell this thing is pretty massive. This thing is big. You can fit whatever you want in here. As far as a 4-person tent goes, this thing has so much headroom. You can stand up. I'm about 5'7". I can stand up fine. Any taller than this, you're probably gonna have some trouble. So this thing is very spacious. I personally, when I go camping and I go with friends, I like to have my own space. I don't want to be rolling around, hitting each other in the middle of the night. I don't want to have to worry about where our gear goes and all of that stuff. And if, it's the weather's crappy and you want to stay inside, I want to have a place to sit out of the rain if I'm in the backcountry somewhere. So this will totally provide that for you. Okay, so with that covered, let's get into the cons of the tent. That inner fabric material that I was talking about that comes up about 3/4 of the way of the tent, that is also a con. So that fabric material does not allow air in as well as a mesh would. So what that means is if you're planning on taking this tent out in the middle of summer, out in the sun, without any wind, you are going to get hot. The lower half of the tent is not going to get as much airflow as the higher half of the tent. When you're sleeping and you're laying below that fabric line, you are definitely going to get warm in the summertime. But as I said earlier, this could also be a pro because in the wintertime, in the colder weather, that's going to keep you warm. On REI's website, this is listed as a 3 to 4 season tent. This is definitely not a 4-season tent. I don't think you'd be very comfortable in this in freezing, snowy, icy conditions. It's maybe a 3+ with that fabric on the bottom of it. Definitely not a 4-season tent. So if you're buying this looking to go explore some mountains in the middle of winter where it's going to be snowing, where it's going to be a high wind situation, I don't know how comfortable you'll be at night. But I've seen people do it with much less equipped tents, so it's up to you. Now, getting into con number 2, I don't know what number that was, the vestibules on it. So I know I said that the fly is a plus, and it is definitely a plus given that it's a full-size fly, goes all the way around. The vestibules are a bit of an annoyance. If you look at when I opened the tent earlier, the fly, you need to open both sides of it and open it like this, like you see now, where it's rolled up to the top completely. You can't just open one half of it and keep it open that way. I'm probably going to try to rig that somehow, but currently you can't do that. What that means is if it's raining and you want a little bit of shelter from the rain and you want some more vestibule area, it's not easy. It would have been nice if there was a middle zip instead of the 2 zips up the front, but the way it is right now, if you do want to keep the front open, this is what you're going to be getting as far as vestibules go. There's not much room here. And granted, you could probably stow a bag in there, but it'll get wet. So if you want to keep half of the fly open or half of the front open, in the rain or like light rain or something like that and look out, or maybe sit there and cook or something. Not possible. And the other thing is that there is only one vestibule on this thing. It is the front. There is no vestibule in the back, which one of the direct competitors for this tent that I was actually looking at, the Eureka Space Camp 4, that has 2 vestibules, one on each side, makes it really nice. You can stow your gear in the back. You can use the front as sort of a living space or a cooking space or what have you. Or if you don't want to worry about getting your stuff wet while you're coming in and out, boom, 2 vestibules. This thing, just one. Kind of a disappointment, to be honest. It would have been nice to see a vestibule in the back, and if they brought that window all the way down, whatever. And also on the Eureka Space Camp 4, their front pocket zip, whatever, their little flap, similar to this flap, it's a lot smaller. So when you do zip that up to get in and out, you'll still have a pretty large size vestibule on each side to keep all of your stuff out of the rain, out of the weather, what have you. So this thing, it's just the flap on it is massive, and that causes some issues. Okay, now back inside for another con of this tent. The material on the floor of the tent is fairly thin. I wouldn't feel comfortable camping on rough surfaces, any sort of gravel, wood, whatever, twigs and stuff. You will definitely want to use a floor mat or a ground mat with this ground sheet. But the pro there, I guess, is that they do provide one. So I think they know that the floor of this tent is rather, I don't want to say delicate, but it just doesn't give me a good feeling. So this part of the tent, I don't know if it's a pro or a con, but let's talk about the storage real quick while I'm thinking of it. There are 4 pockets in the tent, one on each corner at the bottom. I have seen tents with way more storage, and it is slightly disappointing at this price range. Plenty of room at the bottom of the tent for them to have put more storage, since there is that fabric material going all the way around. So I don't know. It's 4 small pockets, and for someone who doesn't really use storage that much, I think you'll be totally fine with this, with the gear loft at the top. But I like to keep things organized, so it would have been nice to see a couple more pockets here and there, maybe even just like a small one for your keys and your phone or whatever else you want to keep off of the ground, and next to you while you're sleeping if you're not, in a corner. Those are the pros and cons of the tent. So what do I think overall? It's a pretty nice tent. I have yet to take this thing out into any sort of real camping conditions, but I'm fairly confident that it will do well, and I'm excited to test it out. I think that they did a really good job with the design of this thing. There are a couple things here and there that I wish they would have improved on, but in the competition of the 350 to like 450 range of tents, this thing is great. You can spend a lot more, get a lot more. For the size, for the price, this is a really solid tent as far as first impressions go. Takedown, setup, very simple setup, very simple takedown. Really nice bag, fairly light for how big it is. I think they claim a 12-pound weight with a 10-pound trail weight, which is great. I think, if you did want to split this up with 4 buddies and each take, 3 pounds or whatever, it's not awful. So you could take it backpacking if you really wanted to. Yeah, I'm excited to get this thing out and put it to the test, and I will be sure to update you guys if there's anything to update you about, if it goes horribly or if it goes, blows my mind. Who knows? But if you have any questions about this thing, like I said, I know there's not very many reviews on this that aren't sponsored or paid or whatever. Just feel free to shoot me a message or leave a comment or whatever, and I'll let you know. So yeah, thank you so much for watching.